FM News Talk 97.1.
On demand audio. Allman in the morning. Common Sense Radio.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
All right, folks, let's get right to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Speaker Newt Gingrich, just honored to have you on the show. How are you, my friend?
Well, I'm doing well, and I'm delighted to be coming to St. Louis for Todd Akin. He is a decent man, an honorable man. He has had a terrific conservative voting record. He's the exact opposite of Claire McCaskill. She was for Obamacare. He was against it. She is for increasing the federal debt. He is against it. She's for higher taxes. He wants a bigger economy. She stands for the kind of abortion rules that are just totally unacceptable to most decent Americans. This administration, the president has actually voted, Obama voted 3 times as a state senator to protect doctors who kill babies if they survive a late-term abortion. And Claire McCaskill supports that kind of tax-paid abortion on demand at any time of the entire pregnancy. So the gap between the two is enormous. And I would simply say to everybody who has any confusion, 6 seconds of Todd Akin saying something dumb doesn't offset 6 years of McCaskill voting destructively.
Boy, you got that right. And, interestingly enough, we looked at this about 6 hours even after the broadcast, and suddenly all these people were trying to get him out of the race. And it got to the point, Speaker Gingrich, even the people who listen to this show, where even the folks who actually didn't vote for Todd Akin in the primary were suddenly, this is wrong. Whatever is happening here, whatever seems to be going on here, this groupthink is wrong. And they stood by him in the end, hoping that actually he would stay in the race, in spite of the fact that they didn't agree with what he said and all that kind of thing. But this was a principle thing for a lot of people.
Well, part of the reason I agreed to be the first national Republican to come in for Todd is that I just think it is so profoundly wrong for the big money boys in Washington to decide they can dictate to the people of Missouri or Georgia or any other state. Todd Akin won the nomination. He has been re-endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau. He is clearly the candidate of the people of Missouri. And I really deeply resent the Senate committee in particular, which remember was totally wrong about Marco Rubio. The Senate committee 2 years ago did everything it could, spent $5 million to get Marco Rubio out of the race on behalf of Charlie Crist. And the former governor of Florida was in Charlotte endorsing Barack Obama. So I don't think it's fair or appropriate, and I think that people who donate to the Senate committee should be calling and raising Cain and saying, what do you mean you're not going to be for the Republican nominee in Missouri?
Yeah, because that would be so strange to have a situation where once, this day, Tuesday passes, and obviously Congressman Akin is not going to get out of the race, that suddenly the people who are standing in the way, and listen, money is important. Claire McCaskill has $5 million worth of ads ready to rock and roll here.
Oh, sure. And she's going to smear him because that in a straight-up honest fight over her voting record, she's just going to get wiped out. And she doesn't have any choice except to go after him because her voting record is so liberal, pro-Obamacare, pro-abortion, pro-debt, that she can't possibly be idle at this point. She's got to come straight at him, and her only goal is to say, no matter how bad Claire McCaskill is, Akin is worse. That's a pretty sad commentary on 6 years in the U.S. Senate.
Speaker Gingrich, is your sense that there will be, we heard some rumblings even as early as Friday about Senator DeMint's organization possibly starting to get behind Todd Akin being one of the first. Do you see that?
I think Jim DeMint is a very principled conservative who is not afraid of the Republican establishment, and I would not be at all surprised. I can't speak for him, but I would not be at all surprised to see him get into this race. I wouldn't be surprised to see a number of other folks. You look around the country in Nebraska, in Indiana, in Texas. You look at Scott Walker's fight in Wisconsin, and you suddenly realize, gee, there's a grassroots Republican Party out there. Todd Akin belongs to the grassroots wing of this party. But I want to go a step further. I believe for anybody at the RNC or the Senate committee to suggest that one interview is worth having Harry Reid as majority leader is just irresponsible. I think that if Akin is still in the race next week, that they have an absolute moral obligation to come in to help him. I do not understand this reasoning that somehow it's worth throwing away a U.S. Senate seat. We have a better chance of winning Missouri than a great number of the races into which they're going to pour millions of dollars. And Missouri could be the margin between Harry Reid being the majority leader and the minority leader. And I can't imagine how they would explain to their donors that they preferred Harry Reid to Todd Akin.
Well, I tell you, that is right on. And let's say, heaven forbid, Romney loses the presidential election. Then, of course, domination of the Senate is all that much more important. So this is a huge deal. And I'm sure that Todd Akin appreciates you coming in and your courage in addressing this situation. Real quickly, I know you got to get on a plane because I know you're coming into St. Louis. But you've had some really good advice from Mitt Romney as we head into these final days of the election. What do you think would be the most important thing Mitt Romney needs to remember as he tackles this confrontation with Obama?
Look, he's got to get it back to big issues and big choices. A Romney recovery is better than Obama's stagnation. We've had the longest period of 8% plus unemployment since the Great Depression. The Obama program will not work. It will not create jobs. It will not help Americans have a better future. And Romney has to make that vivid and real. And the best place to do that in is by focusing on an American energy plan, something which would be very valuable to Missouri. We have more than enough energy in the U.S. No future president should ever again bow to a Saudi king. And we have every opportunity to make America energy independent.
So you're saying if he's like he was in the debates towards the tail end there, especially as we have the debates coming up, you think it's going to be good?
He has to be aggressive, firm, and determined. He has to stand firm, and he's got to look Obama in the eye and say, "You have failed." I mean, Obama wants to fight over the 47%. A friend of mine said, Obama's failed the 100%. He failed everybody who buys gasoline. He failed everybody who wants a job. He failed everybody who's going to have to pay his debt off for the next 50 years. So Obama represents 100% failure. And you got to have an ability to go back on offense. I mean, you can't just stand there and get hit in the chin and do nothing.
Well, that's why we like you, Speaker Gingrich. You cut to the quick, and we appreciate you joining us. I know you've got to get on that airplane.
Listen, I look forward to everybody going to akin.org and come join us today. It's a very, very important day in the Senate race, and this is a very important Senate race for America.
All right. Safe travels to you, Speaker Gingrich. Thanks for joining us.